Do you think the goddess of love would ever choose the battlefield? In Norse mythology, Freyja is exactly that contradiction. Beauty and fury in the same breath. She shines like gold, wears the legendary necklace Brísingamen, and moves through the skies in a chariot pulled by two great cats. But behind the elegance is something far darker and far more powerful. Because Freyja isn't only a goddess of love and desire, she is also tied to war, death, and fate. When warriors fall in battle, Freyja doesn't simply mourn them. She claims half of them for her own realm, Fólkvangr, while the other half go to Odin in Valhalla. And there's one more secret that makes Freyja dangerous. She is a master of Seiðr, a form of Norse magic linked to prophecy and control of destiny. So in this story, we're stepping into the legend of Freyja, from her Vanir roots to her symbols of power, to the battlefield where even gods must respect her name. Freyja's story begins far from the shining halls of Asgard. She is born among the Vanir, the older tribe of gods tied to nature's deepest forces: fertility, wealth, the sea, and the invisible currents that move the world. Her father is Njörðr, a sea god whose name carries the sound of waves and trade winds. Her brother is Freyr, a god of prosperity and peace. But Freyja is different. Even among the Vanir, she stands out, because her power isn't only about life. It's about desire, gold, magic, and death, all tangled together. When war erupts between the Aesir and the Vanir, it doesn't look like a simple clash of armies. It looks like two kinds of reality colliding: order and wild power fighting to decide what the universe will become. And when peace is finally made, the gods exchange hostages and alliances to seal the truce. That's how Vanir influence pours into Asgard. In many tellings, this is the moment Freyja's presence changes the world of the Aesir. Not with a sword, but with something even more unsettling. Seiðr. Freyja is a master of Seiðr, a form of Norse magic tied to visions, fate, and the ability to bend what seems inevitable. It isn't flashy fire or thunder. It's the kind of power that makes people nervous because you can't see where it begins or ends. Seiðr is prophecy with teeth. It's the feeling that someone is rewriting the path beneath your feet. Freyja's magic makes her more than a beautiful goddess. She becomes someone even the gods have to respect, because knowledge of fate is a weapon that doesn't need a blade. And Freyja carries her power like a legend you can recognize from a single silhouette. She wears Brísingamen, the famous necklace that glitters like captured sunlight. An object so iconic that it turns her into the symbol of beauty and wealth, and also the envy of gods and giants alike. She travels in a chariot pulled by two great cats, a striking image that makes her feel both elegant and untouchable, soft, but absolutely not harmless. And when she wants speed, escape, or a message delivered across impossible distance, she has the falcon-feather cloak, a cloak that lets the wearer take flight. That cloak becomes so important that even Loki seeks it out in desperate moments, because if you need to cross worlds quickly, you borrow power from Freyja. But for all the gold and glamour, Freyja's story holds a quiet sadness. She is connected to Odr, a mysterious figure often described as her husband, who is frequently absent, always gone, always just out of reach. And Freyja's grief becomes part of the myth. She searches for him, and in some traditions, her tears fall like gold, as if even sorrow for Freyja becomes something precious. It's a powerful contrast. The goddess of love isn't portrayed as a cartoon romance. She is longing, she is hunger, she is the ache that doesn't disappear even when you're divine. Now the story turns darker, because Freyja is not only linked to love and magic, she is linked to war and the dead. In Norse belief, the battlefield is not just a place where men die. It's a place where the gods are watching, and Freyja has a claim there. When warriors fall, Freyja receives half of those slain in combat, taking them to her realm called Fólkvangr, to a hall often named Sessrúmnir. The other half belonged to Odin in Valhalla. That detail changes everything about how you see her. Freyja isn't only a goddess people pray to for love. She is also a goddess who rules a share of the afterlife for warriors. She has a hand in what happens after the last breath, and that makes her terrifying in the most beautiful way. This is also why people blur Freyja with the imagery of Valkyries, because she stands so close to the idea of the chosen slain. But Freyja is not simply a battlefield messenger. She is a queen of her own realm, with her own power, her own claim, and her own dead. And if Odin represents a cold strategy of fate, gathering an army for Ragnarok, Freyja represents something more human and more dangerous. Emotion sharpened into power. Love can start wars. Beauty can topple kings. Desire can turn allies into enemies. And in Norse myth, those aren't soft forces. They are forces that can be as violent as thunder. So Freyja becomes a contradiction the world can't ignore. A goddess who can be worshipped for love, and feared for what she claims from the battlefield. She shines like treasure, moves like a predator, speaks with the language of magic, and carries grief like a crown. Because Freyja isn't just beauty. She is beauty that can take what it wants, even from death. And that's why Freyja is one of the most powerful figures in Norse mythology, because she can't be trapped in one role. She is love, but not gentle love, love with hunger, longing, and heartbreak. She is beauty, but not harmless beauty, beauty that commands attention like a spell. She is gold, the symbol of desire and wealth, shining even through sorrow. And she is war, because she has a claim on the battlefield itself, welcoming half of the battle slain into Fólkvangr, while the rest go to Odin. Freyja reminds us that the forces that shape the world aren't always swords and thunder. Sometimes they're the things people underestimate: desire, grief, temptation, prophecy. And in Freyja's hands, those forces become power. So when you hear her name, don't picture only a goddess of romance. Picture a queen who rides with cats, wears Brísingamen like a crown, practices Seiðr like a weapon, and stands at the edge of battle, deciding which fallen souls belong to her realm. Because Freyja isn't just the goddess of love. She's the goddess who proves love can be as dangerous as war.